All right, what is going on? It's Simmer Down live from home. It's DJ Crowley here once again, and we got a legend in the house, Dan the Man Sheehan, the Cali Roots King, co-producer, co-founder, talent buyer extraordinaire. What's going on, man?
Oh man, it's good to be here. It's good to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. It's an honor to be able to chat with you once again. And let's go back to the beginning here real quick, man. Well, the beginning of the Jamdemic, I like to call it. The
Right.
last show we both attended was Pepper at the Catalyst. And when tough times come, man, it calls for tough people. We don't need to talk about what happened at that. I want to talk about what happens in a difficult situation, because I think that is probably one of the most important things as a festival producer or whatever on the grounds. You got to figure it out quick.
Yeah, and that's that's definitely something we take pride in. It's like I have never really been one to stress or let situations derail kind of what I'm doing or get in my way of trying to figure out how to fix something. And that's a big part of producing festivals in general. And it's a big part of life, right? It's like you kind of just got to roll with the punches. Sometimes you're dealt a hand and you got to play it. And that's kind of how we operate. That's how my entire team operates. My entire team kind of feeds off of off of what we do. And like if something came up in the festival and I started stressing out and like freaking out and running around crazy, like my entire team would feel that energy. And like I've always been a huge believer that it starts with us. It starts at the top. It starts with leadership and how we handle it. And our team kind of does that. And it's I'm fortunate enough to have an all-star, backing band that kind of really makes me look really good, and but a lot of that is also because I'm not a stress ball. You know what I mean? Like I'll do it, maybe I'll stress out, behind closed doors, amongst my, when I'm by myself or something, but like it's not something that's not how we operate. So
Yeah, absolutely. You cannot do
no,
that.
no, and it's not healthy.
No, it's not.
We're
And
already Yeah,
I,
we're already in a high impact business. Like it's, the business that we're in, like it's not, it's, when I was younger doing it, it was more gambling. Now it's still gambling, but it's more of calculated gambling. You know what I mean? Like I know what I'm doing when I'm at the table now, and I'm counting cards and I'm kind of, I'm trying to, I have a way better understanding of how to do this. I mean, no matter what, like at the end of the day, you can't force people to buy tickets. And so sometimes you just don't sell enough tickets, and there's stress that comes with that. But, for the most part, we handle ourselves with good grace.
think you guys are doing a great job, man. Always have, always will. Hey, if you're just tuning in, we got Dan the Man Sheehan, the Cali Roots King in the house. And man, I want to go into the festival grounds in the beginning of this whole thing. The festival grounds, for anybody that doesn't know, I mean, you really, it's the Monterey County Fairgrounds. It's where the Monterey Pop Festival was held in 1967, 68, something like that. That's where Ravi Shankar introduced the sitar to the world. It's where Jimi Hendrix burned his guitar on that stage that your artists stand on. How did you guys, you and Jeff, find the grounds, and how did you get this legendary place?
I mean, it's Jeff Monzer started the festival, and so he found the grounds, and the grounds have always been there. I've been going to shows there many years ago before Cali Roots, when it was called when there was a festival there called Monterey Bay Reggae Fest. But obviously, me and my wife and family ended up moving to Monterey, as Cali Roots started to progress, because I mean I love Monterey. I'm in Monterey right now, and it's the grounds are special. It's pretty much where the birth of the American Music Festival happened, right? Like we're doing festivals at the same grounds that, like you said, Robbie did his thing, Janice was there. Jimmy burned his guitar on stage, The Who destroyed all their gear. It is the birthplace of the American Music Festival, and that for me, that's really special. And I live I live, 5 minutes from the grounds. During the pandemic, our daughter learned to ride her bike there because there was nobody there, and like we have access to the venue. Like it's a special place to us, and we do, we have another festival there that we do in October. And so it's a special place for us, and we're fortunate to be able to do something at such a iconic venue. And it's part of, people always ask us, oh, you guys should move Cali Roots. It's blah blah blah, and it's too big, or it's like, but like at the end of the day, like I don't want to leave the fairgrounds. Like I love the venue. The venue is a big part of why the festival is what it is, and that's something that we hold close to us.
Dude, that would be a hard no from my end. If somebody ever was like, hey, you should move it somewhere else so we can camp or whatever. No, no, no,
Yeah.
no, no, no,
No,
no,
yeah,
no.
exactly. And it's definitely part of the grounds, and there's excuse me, we have limitations. It's like a narrow venue. We do have our limitations with it, and we could sell a lot more tickets if we had a bigger venue to sell at, but that's not the idea. The idea is that it's where I'm doing it at such a cool special venue that's beautiful with the oaks. And once we're done with it, like once our setup is done, like I mean, with the lighting and it just becomes like this wonderland in there, and you get the airplanes flying over,
Yeah,
add to the festival vibes.
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
yeah, it's a special venue, we love it. And like I said, I live here, I live next to it, so.
It's such an incredible place. If you haven't been, you just have to go. It's, walking. I remember the first time I was there in 2015. I was kind of coming out there with Sun Dried Vibes, and I got there, and all these years I had, wanted to go. It's the Super Bowl of reggae rock and reggae music in our scene. And walking through those grounds, like you just feel something different than any other festival.
Yeah.
Nothing should change about what you guys do with that festival
Yeah,
ever.
and 100%, and that's honestly, like I always say it. It's like we kind of give the fans and the venue and everything. It's like an open canvas, right? Like once you walk in those gates, like we can provide like little pieces of little tools and stuff like that to make it what it is. But really, it's just something that the fans and the venue and the artist and that have it's special. Like it's hard to put words on how it's happened and how that energy and vibe have become what it is, and yeah, there's other festivals that might sell more tickets than us, that are in our space, but at the end of the day, like it's not, I always say it's not the biggest doesn't mean how many tickets you sell, right? I think, or the best, or everybody has their own, like all these other festivals, they're great in their own right, but for Cali Roots, like we have this special vibe and this energy that you get right when you walk into the crowd.
Absolutely, man. So let's move on to the artists of your festival. What draws you to an artist?
That's a great question. I mean, there was an artist that just recently did a social media post on why he hasn't been booked, but it's obviously we have our core artists, right? That play the festival, a lot, and but then for me, it's like this year, like we I like to expand a little bit more out of the box than other festivals within our space. Like we have like Gentlemen from Germany this year,
Hmm.
a massive European act that I've been trying to get for years, and we were finally able to secure him this year. But like it's for me, it's like it's introducing this our fan base to these other acts that are huge in their own markets, in their own countries. And so being able to do that, and being like, what can we introduce people to, and how far can I go outside of the box, and like, having Duran Jones on it last year, like how far can we go outside the box where it's still in the box, but it's like it's far enough out to that it's something different. I also look, like there's bands like Tropodelic or Bumpin' Uglies and some of these bands, East Coast bands that they're also like they work harder than a lot, than most. I mean, they are out there pushing, they're out there grinding, they're out there touring, selling merch, and I see what their ticket counts are, and their ticket counts are consistently going up. And then you have bands like the Elevators, who personally I think are going to be they're one of the future headlining bands of our space, you know. And
Oh, Dan said it.
I would say it's I mean, I'm a huge fan of the Elevators, and Article Sound System, another one that I'm a huge fan of, and I think that's another band that has they really do like Logan's special too. Like they I don't know if how many people follow a lot of people follow their socials, but I honestly think Article Sound System social is one of the best in our scene. It's like they're quirky, cool, and like it's hard, like they make me laugh, and
Yes.
I think that's huge. I think like they did that little mini series thing they did. I love that they're exposing themselves and they're going out. They're that takes a lot for anybody to do, and so it's like watching that and seeing how these bands are growing, but they're also unique and they're different. And they're and also the teams they have behind. I mean, it's obviously I love working with great teams, and I have a lot of really good relationships with managers and agents within our space, and it's that definitely adds to kind of working with somebody. But we my in you know our info box gets all these emails all the time. Hey, I want to play your festival, and that's all they literally put in the message. And it's like, yeah, I hear you, man, but like,
Hard
why?
no.
Yeah, like why, like what are you doing? Why? And like convince me to play this. Why should you play the festival? Just because you're playing reggae rock or you're playing reggae, or that doesn't mean you should be playing the festival. Or I mean, it's like, but it's there's I think sometimes artists, they don't give themselves enough. They're not giving themselves enough push behind them, like especially some of these growing bands and these younger bands. I think it's like just because you play reggae doesn't mean you're going to play the festival, or you're going to go open for Revolution or Stick Figure or the Elevators. It's like like there's a process to get to this, and it's a lot of work, man. It's like it's hard work, like being in a band, being in the music, and it's hard work. Like as a promoter, I didn't just become the guy that does Cali Roots or become the guy that does all these other festivals. Like no, like I had to grind, and like I had my own version of being in a van and a trailer, what I mean? Like I didn't just go to a bus, and so I have my my own version of getting to where I'm at, and it's a lot of work, and it's the music industry is it's a passion industry, right? Like you got to have passion for what you're doing, because there's a lot of heartache that goes with it too, but like without that passion, it's like a lot of people would give it up, so
Passion first.
yeah,
Always,
100%,
no matter what.
yeah,
And I think that you hit it right on the heel, man. You got to be talented, you got to be unique, you got to be good people,
yeah,
and that's kind of what I go by. And I was talking with scientist legendary Hopeton
yeah,
a couple weeks ago, and I asked him that question. He said mutual respect.
yeah.
Just being good people and being cool at what you do. And an interesting point about Article, I have noticed that about their social. Really good point there for everybody out there. Number one, don't email Dan or Amy or anybody saying, "Hey, I want to be on Cali Roots." Well, that's a hard no.
Right,
I mean, it
right.
really is. Like in this business, that's what you do. You got to show us
Yep.
what you got and show us that you're that right person and that right group to come to this very sacred, magical place that is Cali Roots.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I mean, it's like, yeah, yeah. And like I said, passion is number one. And I've always, it's another thing I say a lot. Like, I strongly believe that if you love what you're doing and if there's passion behind what you're doing, making a living at it is a byproduct of that. You know what I mean? But like, if you're just going into this, I'm going to make all this money, I'm going to be like super famous and, all this popping bottles and all this stuff. Like, it's, that's not a good foundation piece, like you have to love what you do, and we're fortunate, like I get to put on festivals and events and work with artists and work with some of the a bunch of great people. I do this for a living, and I am very fortunate, and it wasn't overnight. It's not an overnight success, but like I'm very happy with the choices that I made to get to this point in my life.
Hey, we're very happy to have you and the whole team and obviously Ineffable and Jeff Monster and everybody. making everybody out there feel good and bringing people back together once again. I know it's been a very, very, very difficult time for not just the artists, but the people who make it all happen as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
big up to you guys.
the ecosystem of events definitely felt the felt a heavy hit on during COVID times. So
Absolutely. So, guys, if you're just tuning in, once again, you're late. We got Dan the Man Sheehan in the house, the Cali Roots King, executive producer, co-founder, and the talent buyer. Man, do not email Dan. Once again, do not email Dan and say, "Hey, we want to be on your festival." That ain't gonna work. You gotta do a little bit better than that. Hey, you were talking about international artists. Luckily with Simmer Down, it is a reggae and world show, and we have had the opportunity to explore the world of music, and there's so much more out there. This year coming up, Subatomic Sound System, Catch a Fire, and LAB from New Zealand as well. Talk about the international artists and kind of how you go about that.
So LAB is one that I've been watching for a few years. I'm a huge fan of the New Zealand music scene in general. Like I think that the New Zealand music scene is as good as it gets worldwide. I mean, it's some of the band like 660 and Fat Freddy's Drop, and a lot of these bands that are coming out of there. And LAB is one of them. LAB is massive. You see the numbers that they're doing in Australia and New Zealand, and it's just like, holy cow! It's like these guys are selling real tickets. Their production's over the top. Obviously we've worked with Catch a Fire for many years. And yeah, it's I like to keep an eye on things like Dub Inc. Dub Inc. They played last year.
Love them. Yeah.
Their set was one of the best sets of the whole weekend, and everybody was talking about it. And I'm a big fan of the band, and so like, you know what? Let's come back. Let's get you on the bowl. Let's get you on a later set. And I like to do that. I like to bring bands back, like they play and they just crushed it. I like to bring them back the following year and like, all right, let's get you a better set. A better set time. And that's the cool thing about Cali Roots. It's like there really is no bad set time, right? It's like
Correct.
no matter what time of day you're playing, excuse me, what time of day you're playing, our crowd's there. Our crowd is early. They love being there. And so like, Dubbing was one of those bands like, let's get you a later set. Like I talked about earlier, like Gentleman is another one from Germany.
Right.
That we really wanted to push on there. And Alborosie has been a big part of, the festival for a few years. And it's just a matter of kind of keeping an eye on some of these, these artists. And there's artists that I would love to get, like Seed is another one I would love to get. Seed travels very large. One of the core members passed away. But they're back to playing, and they're definitely an artist I'd love to get. Fat Freddy's Drop is another one. I've been trying to get Fat Freddy's Drop for years. And Manu Chao is another international artist that we'd love to get. And again, like that's, I think what separates us from the others is the fact that like we go and we get these artists, and it's not just US based artists or Jamaican based artists, and like how do we kind of keep growing that and keep enlightening people to all this other music out there. It's like the reggae music, it's like I think sometimes people get caught up, it's like it's just reggae is like Jamaican, or there's the American scene. It's they kind of try to put everything in a smaller bucket. That bucket's much bigger, and there's reggae music from every corner of the earth. I mean, there's reggae music coming out of Korea, there's reggae music coming out of Japan, and I think there's obviously reggae music coming out of Africa, and everything has its own sound to it, and so it's which I think is what we're trying to showcase a little bit more at Cali Roots. Like, this is what else is out there, and yeah, that's I'm a huge fan of trying to book more international acts. I think it's really cool to build a lineup. Obviously you have your headliners, and you have a handful of those, right? But then you can get really creative with everybody underneath the headliners, which is why we try to mix in more international stuff.
Absolutely, man. We had a couple of them, Dub Spencer and Trance Hill.
Nice.
out of Switzerland. We just chatted with them. I found them randomly the other day. You talk about dirty. Oh man, they are amazing. Dub FX.
I love Dub FX is great. There's another one we'd love to get over.
I want to move on here. California Roots 2023, man. We're back. And this one I think is going to be obviously we had the one right before this, and everybody's like, oh my God, we're back. But now it's like we're back in the groove here. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, this year, like I said, I carried around the 2022 lineup, which is originally the 2020 lineup. I carried that around, and I booked that, in the summer of 2019. I booked that, so I had, it was three. That lineup was, 3 years of stop and go, because I mean there was a point there where we postponed the first festival, we postponed the second festival, and postponed the third festival, and um but so starting the booking for 2023 was fun. It was something that, like, I'm like, all right, I can do, I can, I don't want to necessarily have all the bands that I carried around carried around with me, and we can have some new bands, but I'm also bringing some of those bands back, and, like, our Cali Roots stage, which is, kind of our second stage, but it's a big stage, big production. I'm going to put bands like, Common Kings and Hyrie and The Movement kind of closing that stage, so they get the full light package, the full, they can come in with a full nighttime show. And so that's what we're trying to do. Is we're trying to develop those artists to kind of be, because we need to keep developing these acts to be our future headliners, right? Not just for our festival, but for, for the other ones out there too, man. I think it's important for these artists. It's important for the fans. And so, we were able to kind of do that. I was able, I did try to get, I was trying to get one big hip hop artist this year. That didn't work out. And so, I called Wu-Tang's camp, and we were able to get that done. And now that the Wu-Tang deal kind of, came together in like a week. It moved a lot quicker than I thought it would. So we were able to get that done, and having Wu-Tang on it this year is great. I always like to have, hip hop representation. And then, hieroglyphics, hieroglyphics, like, it's the full hiero. And that one was like, I called, my guy Igor Katz over at Ineffable, who's tied in with their manager. He called their manager, who's Devin's manager. And it all kind of worked out. And we were able to get Hyro on it. But yeah, it was a fun lineup to book. And I'm like I said, I'm constantly booking, right? Because we have, 4 or 5 other festivals that we do. So I'm like constantly booking. It's kind of become my big role, is kind of, overseeing the business and talent buying, and kind of developing new festivals and venues. But yeah, so 2023 lineup is fun. I'm super stoked on it. I think with all the international representation, I think it's huge. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
California Roots Festival.com for more info on all of that.
That is correct. CaliforniaRootsFestival.com.
Wonderful. Hey, let's talk about something a little bit more a little different here. I was talking with Pepper last night, and they've become good friends, and they've been kind of with you since the beginning. And we both kind of came up with the same question. What's the funniest thing you've ever seen at your festival?
Pepper high on mushrooms.
Pepper high on mushrooms.
Pepper on mushrooms on stage is one of the funniest things. That was I love those guys, man. I absolutely love those guys, man. They're the fact that they're from Hawaii, I'm from Hawaii, it's like we've always had a great connection, and
Yeah.
they're just solid dudes. But that was one of the sets where that was a fun set that they did. The funniest things. I mean, there's a lot of back of house stuff that's pretty funny. Stuff that's as you kind of go through the festival, and you're kind of you've been pretty delirious. And so we have our staff has catering in the morning, and everybody's coming in delirious, and I've had some of the funniest breakfasts in my life at Cali Roots. Yeah, good dudes on Pepper, man. I love those guys.
Oh man, I love them too. Yeah, there's nothing like when you get like a good night. You have to get a good night's sleep. Like if you're running the thing, like
well,
there's no like throw, like, oh, let's get no. That's at the end, and then when you wake up with your coffee, seeing everybody that stayed up all night.
Yeah, it is. It's and as I've gotten older, I try to get at least 4 hours of sleep every night for a festival. and 4 or 5 hours, and like I said, fortunately I have a great team, and so I, in the early days, man, I would have to stay till 2 3, lock the whole venue up, kick people out of camping, get all, I used to have to do a lot of that. And as I got older with a kid and all that, I was like, nah, man, I'm gonna rock my shit. I'll get out of here by 1. I'll get there and I'll be back on site at like 6. Get 4 or 5 hours of sleep, and feel like a champ. So, and it's just, I'm just running on pure adrenaline anyway. So
Yeah. It's so important, man. You got to be pro at that level. Like, I mean, for everybody out there, like, yeah, you can have some fun in the beginning and everything, but man, when it gets time for stuff like this, get some sleep, close your eyes for a
yeah,
minute.
yeah, like it's like it's I have there's a big responsibility, right? Like I'm responsible for every single person on site. You know, at the end of the day, the buck ends with me, right? So like I gotta be on my game, right? If I partied all night and didn't just and treated it like somebody that bought a ticket and was just partying all day, and all night, like no, man, I have a drink, I have a drink at night, and chill out, and go get some sleep, and come back to sleep. And again, like I also love this so much that I'm just like I'm always just riding high. It's like
Mhm.
I just love what I do, and I love doing the festivals. And so like by Sunday, man, like a lot of people are like, "Oh my God, how are you doing it, man?" I'm just flying on adrenaline. Don't get me wrong. As soon as the festival's over, man, like Monday and Tuesday are pretty hard days, because like you adrenaline that's been driving you, like and loadout is hard, man. Loadout's the hardest part of the festival, man. Like that is the hardest part of the festival because you're dragging that adrenaline has kind of left your body. You're trying to get this festival out, loaded out, and get the venue cleaned up because they have an event the following weekend. So you got to make sure that you're being respectful to whoever's coming in after you. And yeah, it's fun. It's fun though.
It is fun. I love this scene and I love everything about not just Cali Roots, but everything,
Yeah.
every family connection that's been made. Our
Same.
scene is very special, I think, in that like we have this family that's so, so, so very tight. I mean, we'd take a bullet for each other, hypothetically.
Yeah. Yep. And you said it right there, man. I think that's one of the things I love the most about this. It is Ohana, it is a family, and it's I some of my best friends are obviously people within the space, tour managers, agents, bands. It's like it's just part of I love this scene, and I love being a part of it, and I love everything about it. I mean, sometimes the billing issues kind of irk me, but other than that, I mean, it's just it is what it is, man. It's like it's a great scene, great people in it.
Yep, absolutely. Hey, a few more questions here for you, Dan, then we'll get you out of here. I
No
want to
worries.
talk about Cali Roots Radio real quick, man. You got your own radio show with Eric Rachmani of Revolution on Sirius XM. We're both radio DJs here, so let's talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, I love doing the show. I mean, we're on the Spectrum, and so me and Eric go back and forth. He does one week, I do one week, and it's an hour long. And we Eric, and both of our sets are completely different, right? It's like he's playing kind of what he's playing, I play what I'm playing. I end my set with kind of a root set of some foundation artist. I have some new releases, and then a lot of times I'll play artists that are playing Cali Roots or another festival that I'm doing, right? So like we have an island festival coming up in May that I play bands from that festival as we announce it. And I have a long history in radio, and so back in gosh, when was it? Yeah, back in 2000, 1999, 2000, 2001, I lived on the island of Guam, and I was a DJ there on an all island reggae station. And I was the music director and DJ, and I had my own night show, 6 to 10 every night, 5 days a week. And I love doing radio. I love doing interviews. I love doing podcasts, and I'm very comfortable with it. And so the opportunity presented itself to do Cali Roots Radio and bring Cali Roots to the masses. Sirius has been huge supporters of what we've been doing. Pat McKay over at the Joint has been, just a massive supporter of Cali Roots, and we recently moved from the Joint to the Spectrum, and so it's fun. I enjoy doing it. I have a little studio set up at my house. Nothing crazy, just a mic and some headphones, and and like trying to, use GarageBand to kind of, do my drops and stuff. But yeah, it's fun, man. I enjoy it.
Wonderful, man. And again, how can people tune in and listen?
So it's on the Joint. I mean, sorry, it's on Sirius. So it's on the Spectrum, and I mean, you can listen to it on your app. You can listen to it in your car. The thing about Sirius, it is a paid service, right? So you got to have a subscription. But yeah, we're live on the Spectrum, which I believe is channel 13.
Yeah, check it out. Cali Roots Radio. Dan Sheehan, Dan the man in the house. Couple more questions for you, man. I want to talk about the future of Cali Roots Fest, Cali Roots brand, and where it's all going.
That's a great question. That's a great question. It's we obviously we did Carolina, we did Arizona, and both Jeff and I have kind of we're doing a lot of our own projects now. We're kind of like it's like a band, right? That you play together for so long, and then at some point you just kind of break off and do your own thing, and so we Jeff has Dry Diggins and he has the Reggae Camp Out. And I have Holo Holo, Lake Tahoe Reggae. We also have our Country Americana Folk Festival, Rebels and Renegades. And so we've kind of been focusing a lot of on our own growth and our growth of our separate businesses. And But for Cali Roots, I think it's really kind of just knocking Monterey out, and maybe there's a play in another market somewhere. Maybe we go back to Arizona. Arizona is definitely a market I'd like to go back to. Switching the time of year, I'd probably go to November instead of February. Stay away from other festivals and spring training. And so yeah, I think maybe there's the expansion of another Cali Roots popping up somewhere. Arizona Roots maybe coming back. So yeah, that's kind of the like I said, we've been focusing so much on our other businesses, and well, not the focus hasn't come off Cali Roots. It's just we have other focuses now too. So yeah, that's kind of the vision in a nutshell.
Have you thought about a Hawaiian Roots?
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, we, obviously, I have a lot of roots in Hawaii. And we do an island festival called Hola Hola, where actually me and Vaughn Carrick and the Reggae Rise Up Vegas team are going to do a festival together in
Oh,
Vegas.
cool. Very
Um,
cool.
yeah, we're doing that in May. That's going to be headlined by Chloe Kai on one day, Jay Boog on the other, and then we'll have Collie Buds and Still Pulse, and then a bunch of Hawaii acts. And so there's definitely been conversation about doing that, and it's just about where we do it at. It's like there's we could do it on Oahu at Kualoa Ranch, or we don't really want to do that to Waikiki Shale. I mean, there's various ideas we've looked around for sure, and it's definitely something that could potentially happen in the next couple of years. I'm also at the mindset right now where you know we need a minimum a year to plan, right? It's like because you need a minimum of 6 months of marketing. Like we are not going to do festivals anymore where there's less than 6 months of marketing. So and which means you need to start getting to work on it a year in advance. So yeah.
Killer, man. Well, we always know whatever you and the team over there at the Cali Roots do, it's always going to be good, man. It's always classy. It's always something new. It's always
Yeah.
really happy, and it brings people together. And we
Yeah.
thank you.
Appreciate that, man. Yeah, appreciate that.
Absolutely. Hey, one more question, man. Everybody gets this the first time we interview them. This is actually, I think, our first one-on-one interview here. Hey, again, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much. It's so great to catch up with you. I'm so happy to see you back out there, thriving, I
Yeah,
guess you would
yeah,
say.
yeah.
We finally got through it, and we're coming out even better before. What does reggae mean to you, Dan?
I mean, reggae is the heartbeat of my life, right? It's like growing up in the islands. Reggae was a big part of my life. I mean, I grew up listening to Oswald and Lucky Dubé and Alpha Blondy and obviously Bob Marley, and the Meditations and Melodians, and it was kind of it's the foundation of my life. It's kind of where I've gotten. I mean, my musical listening habits have shifted and changed over the last handful of years. And but reggae is it's a big part of my life. It's definitely kind of why I'm at the position I'm at. Cali Roots is a big part of where why I've gotten into the success I have, not just with Cali Roots but within the music industry. And so reggae is a big part of my life. And I'm not gonna do the cliche. Oh, it's one love, and it's like, yeah, reggae is all that, but reggae is a much bigger part of my life. It's a much bigger part of the core of why I'm at where I'm at, and it's a big part of my family's life. And I love it. I love reggae music, and like I said, it is the heartbeat of our business.
Absolutely. Universe, world, whatever. It's showtime. It's Cali Roots. Don't forget it, man. Dan the man Sheehan, the Cali Roots King. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, man. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Peace and love.
Such a lonely road I've traveled to find my way back home. And now this untold tale unravels of how this became my home. Said you were always there, the wind was in my hair. Well, if you're cruising Highway 1, I'll see you there. So beautiful, you make it hard not to stare. California roots grow from me like a tree. California roots grow from me like a tree. California roots grow from me like a tree. California roots grow from me like a tree, like a tree.